I was driving alone through a desolate desert road, the kind where you don't see another car for hours. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the cracked asphalt. My Mustang roared as I sped past the endless stretch of cacti and barren land, the wind whipping against my face. Then, out of nowhere, the engine made a loud popping noise, and the car jerked violently. I slammed on the brakes, bringing my speed from 90 miles per hour to a rough halt. The silence that followed was deafening, just the sound of the cooling engine ticking in protest. I popped the hood, pretending I knew what I was looking for. No smoke, no visible damage, just a car that wouldn't start. I pulled out my phone, no service. The sky darkened, and a cold wind swept over the land. I sat on the trunk, waiting, sweating. Hours passed. The desert was an abyss of silence, and the weight of isolation pressed on me. Then a shimmer in the distance. A car. I jumped up, waving my arms desperately. It didn't even slow down, just roared past me, disappearing into the horizon. Believe someone stranded like that. Night fell. Hunger gnawed at me. The wind howled through the open plains, carrying whispers of something unseen. Then, headlights, another vehicle. This time, an old pickup truck. A large man stepped out. His face was unreadable in the dim glow of his headlights. He asked if I was alone, where I was headed, if anyone knew I was here. His questions made my skin crawl. Then, he offered me a ride. I hesitated but had no choice. The moment I stepped into the truck, I knew something was wrong. Minutes into the drive, the truck slowed down. "Damn thing's acting up," the man muttered. He pulled over, looked at me, and smiled. Too long, too wide. He asked me to check under the hood while he released the latch. My gut screamed to me not to go, but I had to act normal. I moved to the front, hesitating. Then, the roar of the engine. He was trying to run me down. I dove to the side, barely avoiding death. My hands scraped against the gravel, burning with pain. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would explode. Gunshots, the crack of bullets in the night. He was shooting at me. I ran into the desert, stumbling over rocks and sand, heart hammering. The truck's headlights swept the darkness, searching. My breath came in ragged gasps as I crouched behind a rock, barely daring to breathe. The sound of his boots crunching on the gravel sent waves of terror through me. Then, just like that, he was gone, vanished into the abyss. I spent the night hiding, shaking. The next morning, another truck stopped. A kind couple. They saved me. But to this day, I wonder, did he ever find another victim? There was a clearing in the woods behind my house where I'd go to read. A quiet place by a stream with a large rock in the center. It was my escape. One late afternoon, I was there again, flipping through my book when I heard something, a soft rustling in the trees. The breeze was still, and yet something moved. I assumed it was a deer, but the footsteps were too deliberate, too heavy. My stomach twisted. I slowly crept forward, peering through the branches. Nothing. I sighed, turning back, then froze. Someone was sitting on my rock. A man, hunched over, holding my book. His fingers traced the pages as if they were familiar to him. "I don't like this book," he said, voice raspy. My breath caught in my throat. He turned to face me, grinning. "I watch you come here a lot." My blood ran cold. His smile never faltered as he took a step toward me. My legs refused to move for a split second. Then instinct took over. I ran. I sprinted through the trees, branches tearing at my arms. My chest burned, but I didn't stop until I reached my house, slamming the door shut behind me. That night, as I lay in bed, still shaking, I heard it, a soft knock at my window. My stomach dropped. I turned over, pulse racing. A shadow stood outside. I screamed for my dad. He ran outside, but whoever it was had vanished. When he came back, he held something in his hands. My book. It had been left right outside my window. The cover was smeared with something dark, something that smelled like copper. I never went back to that clearing. I never walked in those woods alone again. But sometimes, late at night, I feel eyes watching me from the darkness just beyond my backyard. The feeling of breath on my neck, the rustling of unseen footsteps, and sometimes I still hear the knock. Tennessee has beautiful hiking trails, and I knew them well. My friend Ashley and I were exploring an old path leading to a waterfall when we got separated. I took a right, she took a left. We knew the area, but something felt off. The left path had stains on the rocks, dark, dried stains. Blood? I tried calling Ashley, but the forest was eerily silent. No birds, no wind, just stillness. My heart pounded as I followed the path, every crunch of a leaf underfoot making me jump. I ran to the waterfall, hoping she'd be there, and she was waiting for me, pale and shaking. The trail guide led me here, she whispered. My blood turned ice. What trail guide? There was a man, she said, uniform, visor. He told me he was a guide and led me through a shortcut. I stared at her. There were no guides here, no rangers in this labyrinth of rocks. He had led her somewhere secluded, somewhere no one would hear her scream. We left immediately, pretending we had forgotten something at the car. As we passed the tunnels, she whispered, I think he lives in there. My heart pounded. As we reached the parking lot, we froze. On my car's hood sat something small and unsettling. It was the fish food I always left in the rocks. Someone had taken it and placed it on my car. Ashley's water bottle was gone. Someone had been close enough to steal it. A chill crawled up my spine. We never went back. But sometimes I wonder, is he still there, waiting for his next hiker?